AITA for evicting a family after the entire family and relatives just came for an indefinite period. I am shocked at what they did to my house. So, here's the situation. I am a 27-year-old woman, living alone in the house I bought 3 years ago. It is nothing huge or extravagant, just a cozy 3-bedroom place that I worked my butt off to afford. Honestly, I take a lot of pride in it because it represents all the hard work I put in during my early 20s. Up until now, I have loved living alone. It's peaceful, I can do whatever I want, and I finally have my own space after years of sharing everything growing up in a large family. For context, I have always had a good relationship with my family. I am the second oldest of 4 siblings. There's my older brother, who is 30, and my 2 younger sisters, who are 24 and 22. Growing up, our house was always chaotic. My parents are loving but a bit old school, and they raised us with a sense of closeness that sometimes bordered on suffocating. As much as I love them, moving out and getting my own place felt like a breath of fresh air. I could finally set boundaries and live on my own terms. Or so I thought. About a week ago, my parents showed up at my house completely unannounced. It was a Sunday afternoon, and I had just finished cleaning the house and was about to settle down with a book when I heard the doorbell. I opened the door, and there they were, my mom and dad, standing there with suitcases. My first thought was, did I forget about something? Were they supposed to visit? But no, they just smiled and said they were tired of being at home and thought it would be nice to spend a few days at my place to distract themselves. At the time, I did not think much of it. They are my parents, after all, and I figured it would be nice to have them around for a couple of days. So I let them in, made them some tea, and tried to make them comfortable. My dad mentioned something about how cozy my house was, and my mom commented on how peaceful it felt compared to their own place. I remember laughing and saying, well, that's because no one else is here. Oh, the irony. The first couple of days were fine. It was nice to catch up with them, and I enjoyed cooking dinner for the 3 of us. My parents seemed happy, and I felt like a good daughter. But then, just as I started thinking they might overstay their welcome, things took a turn. On Wednesday evening, I got home from work and found not just my parents but also my 2 younger sisters sitting on my couch. I was so confused. I asked them what they were doing there, and they said, well, Mom and Dad are here, so we thought we'd come too. As if that made perfect sense. I was too shocked to say anything, so I just nodded and tried to process the fact that now there were 5 people in my house. 5. I only have 3 bedrooms, and one of them is my home office. My parents had already taken the guest room, and now my sisters were squeezing themselves into my office with an air mattress. I kept telling myself it was temporary. They would all leave in a couple of days, right? Wrong. The very next evening, my older brother showed up. At this point, I could not even pretend to be okay with it. I flat out asked him why he was here, and he just shrugged and said, if Mom and Dad and the girls can crash here, why not me? He even joked about how my house was turning into a family reunion spot. I was so frustrated, but I did not want to cause a scene, so I just said, okay, but where are you going to sleep? He ended up taking the couch in the living room, which officially turned my home into a circus. So now there are 6 adults living in my house. 6. My peaceful, quiet home is gone. My once organized space is now a chaotic mess. There are shoes and bags everywhere. The kitchen is always crowded, and someone is always either cooking or eating. My fridge is emptying out faster than I can refill it. My water and electricity bills are definitely going to skyrocket this month. And let's not even talk about the bathroom situation, it is a constant battle to get 5 minutes of privacy. But the worst part is that no one seems to realize how overwhelming this is for me. They all act like this is perfectly normal. My mom has taken over my kitchen, my dad lounges around like he owns the place, and my siblings treat it like a free vacation. Every time I try to bring up how this is affecting me, they brush it off with comments like, oh, come on, you have plenty of space, or, we're family, what's the big deal? My older brother even joked, well, you're the one who wanted to live alone. Looks like that backfired. I wanted to scream. I do not know how much longer I can take this. It has only been a week, but it feels like an eternity. I have not had a moment of peace since they arrived. My mornings are chaotic, my evenings are loud, and I feel like a guest in my own home. Every time I try to bring up the idea of them leaving, they either ignore me or make excuses. My mom keeps saying, "Oh, just a few more days, dear," and my siblings act like they do not even hear me. I feel trapped. This is my house, and yet I have no control over what is happening. I love my family, but I need my space. I feel like I am losing my mind. Am I overreacting? Or do I have every right to kick them all out? How do I even approach this without causing a huge fight? I am so frustrated, but I do not want to ruin my relationship with them. Any advice would be appreciated, because I am at my wit's end. Update 1. So, 2 weeks have passed, and let me tell you, the situation has gone from frustrating to absolutely unhinged. My patience, which I thought was relatively strong, is now hanging on by the thinnest of threads. What started as my parents wanting a few days to distract themselves has somehow spiraled into what I can only describe as a chaotic, never-ending family reunion in my house. And yes, it gets worse. It turns out, unbeknownst to me, that my parents and sisters have been telling everyone in the family that I kindly allowed everyone to come over. The audacity of that statement still makes my blood boil. I never said anything remotely close to that, and yet now, somehow, it seems like every relative within a 50-mile radius has decided to make my home their personal vacation destination. Let me paint you a picture of what my life looks like right now. In addition to my parents, 2 sisters, an older brother, now have 4 cousins, an aunt, an uncle, and, wait for it, their dog staying at my house. Yes, a dog. My house, which was originally meant to be my quiet sanctuary, now looks and feels like a crowded hostel. There are people everywhere. Every single surface is covered with someone's belongings, bags, coats, random chargers, shoes, snacks, you name it. There's barely any room for me to breathe, let alone feel like I'm at home. The kitchen has become the epicenter of chaos. My fridge, which I've always prided myself on keeping well stocked and organized, is now a wasteland. I can go grocery shopping, spend $200 on food, and it'll be completely wiped out the next day. Leftovers? Forget about it. Snacks? Gone within hours. Someone even had the nerve to open a bottle of wine I had been saving for a special occasion. It's not just the food, though. The sink is perpetually full of dirty dishes. No one seems to know how to load a dishwasher or even rinse off a plate. And let's not talk about the crumbs and spills that no one bothers to clean up. I feel like I'm living in a frat house. Then there's the bathroom situation. I only have 2 bathrooms in my house, and with all these people, it's a constant battle to get in. Someone is always in there, whether it's showering, doing their makeup, or just lounging on the toilet while scrolling on their phone. I can't tell you how many mornings I've been late for work because I had to wait 20 minutes just to brush my teeth. And when I finally do get in, there are wet towels on the floor, empty shampoo bottles in the shower, and toothpaste smears on the mirror. It's disgusting. But wait, it gets worse. Apparently, hosting my entire immediate and extended family wasn't enough. Oh no. They've started inviting other relatives over for what can only be described as impromptu family gatherings. One day, I came home from work, exhausted and dreaming of a moment of peace, only to find 3 distant relatives in my kitchen. I barely even recognized them at first. They were helping themselves to my food and chatting like it was the most normal thing in the world. When I asked what they were doing there, they smiled and said, "We decided to drop by. Your parents said you wouldn't mind." Wouldn't mind? I didn't even know these people were coming. At one point, I counted 15 people in my house. 15. And that's not including the dog, who has been running around barking, shedding fur everywhere, and chewing on my furniture. I don't even like dogs, but apparently, my feelings don't matter in my own home anymore. My once cozy living room is now a war zone of air mattresses, suitcases, and discarded blankets. The noise level is unbearable. Someone is always talking, laughing, or blasting the TV at full volume. They stay up until 2 in the morning watching loud action movies or reminiscing about family memories, and I'm lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering how my life became this. What's really eating away at me is the complete lack of respect for my space. People are taking food from the fridge without asking. They're using my appliances, moving my furniture, and even going through my cabinets as if they own the place. I found one of my cousins digging through my closet, looking for extra blankets, and another rummaging through my garage to borrow tools. There's this pervasive attitude that my house is a free-for-all, and no one has even thought to ask if I'm okay with any of this. Spoiler alert, I'm not. The few moments I manage to get to myself are fleeting and stressful. I'll try to retreat to my bedroom, the one place that still feels somewhat like mine, only to have someone knock on the door within minutes, asking for something or needing help with something. I've tried going for drives just to get out of the house, but the second I come back, it's like walking into chaos all over again. I don't even feel comfortable in my own home anymore. I feel like a stranger in the one place that's supposed to be my sanctuary. And don't even get me started on the financial toll this is taking. My water and electricity bills are going to be astronomical this month. The AC is constantly running because the house is so full of people. The washing machine is running non-stop because everyone's doing laundry. And then there's the cost of groceries. No one has offered to pitch in for anything, not the food, not the utilities, not even cleaning supplies. It's as if they think I'm made of money and can afford to host a small army indefinitely. I've tried dropping hints that it's time for everyone to leave, but no one is taking me seriously. My mom brushes me off with comments like, "Oh, it's so nice to have the family together. Don't be such a Grinch." My dad acts like he doesn't hear me. My siblings and cousins are so wrapped up in their own little worlds that they don't even notice how stressed I am. I feel completely invisible. I'm at my breaking point. I don't know how much longer I can take this. I've gone from loving my family to actively resenting them. I want my house back. I want my life back. But I don't know how to kick them out without causing a massive family feud. I feel like I'm stuck in a nightmare, and I have no idea how to wake up. Update 2. So now my house has fully transformed into something that resembles a chaotic, overcrowded dormitory, and I'm not exaggerating when I say I'm on the verge of a complete mental breakdown. The situation has escalated to a level I didn't think was possible, and at this point, I feel like I've lost all control over my own home. It's not even my home anymore, it's a free-for-all for anyone in my family who feels like showing up and treating the place like their personal property. I feel completely disrespected, overlooked, and powerless. Let me explain just how bad it has gotten. My father, bless him, decided to make my garage his personal storage space. He didn't ask or even give me a heads up. One day, he just showed up with his old motorcycle in tow. This isn't some sleek, modern bike either, it's this ancient, rusty thing that hasn't been used in years. He parked it right in the middle of my garage, taking up the one spot I actually use for my car. When I asked him why he brought it, he shrugged and said he finally had the perfect space to keep it. Meanwhile, I'm now forced to park my car outside because apparently, my garage is now a storage unit for his nostalgia. He's even mentioned plans to tinker with it in his spare time, which means I can look forward to the sound of tools clanking and grease spills on the floor. But it doesn't stop there. My uncle decided he wanted to set up a barbecue in my backyard. Again, no warning, no discussion, he just did it. One afternoon, I came home to find him unloading a full-sized barbecue grill and setting it up right on my patio. When I asked him why, he casually said something about how he's always dreamed of having a big enough yard for barbecues and that mine was perfect for it. Apparently, his dreams are my problem now. Since then, he's been out there grilling almost every evening, inviting people over and making a mess of my yard. The smell of smoke lingers in the air, and there are always greasy barbecue tools left lying around. My patio furniture is now covered in sauce stains, and my once peaceful yard looks like the aftermath of a summer cookout that never ends. Then there's my cousin, who has turned my living room into his personal gaming den. He brought his PlayStation over and set it up on my TV without even asking. Now, my living room is no longer a quiet space where I can relax after work. Instead, it's filled with the constant noise of video games, gunfire, explosions, loud music, and his endless yelling at the screen. He'll sit there for hours, completely oblivious to the fact that this is my house, not an arcade. Sometimes, his friends come over to join him, and they take over the entire room, laughing and shouting like they're in a sports bar. I can't even watch my own TV anymore because he acts like it's his property. And if all of that wasn't bad enough, one of my sisters decided to throw a party in my house. Yes, you read that right, a full-blown party, complete with her friends, loud music, and drinks. I wasn't even told it was happening. I came home from work one evening to find my house packed with people I didn't know. There were cups and bottles everywhere, someone had spilled something sticky on the floor, and my kitchen looked like a tornado had hit it. The music was blasting so loudly that I could hear it from the driveway. When I tried to express how unacceptable this was, she just brushed me off, saying it was no big deal and that they'd clean up later. Spoiler alert, they didn't. It was one of the most disrespectful things I've ever experienced in my own home. At this point, I couldn't hold back my frustration any longer. I told them, calmly but firmly, that I was unhappy with how they were treating my house. And do you know what their response was? They called me ungrateful. My parents, the very people who started this whole mess, had the audacity to tell me I was being selfish. "We're your family," they said. "How can you be so ungrateful? We raised you better than this." Those words cut deep because they completely disregarded how I was feeling. To them, this is just normal, family coming together and living together, as they put it. But to me, it's a complete invasion of my space, my boundaries, and my sanity. The thing is, they genuinely don't see a problem with any of this. In their minds, I'm the one being unreasonable for not wanting to share my home with 15+ people, a dog, a barbecue, a motorcycle, and a PlayStation. They don't understand how draining it is for me to constantly be surrounded by people, noise, and mess. They don't see how much stress this is causing me or how much I've already sacrificed to accommodate them. It's like my feelings don't matter at all. I've tried everything short of outright kicking them out. I've dropped hints, I've had conversations, and I've even tried to set boundaries, but none of it has worked. They just laugh it off or guilt-trip me into backing down. I feel completely trapped in my own house. I can't relax, I can't focus, and I can't even enjoy the space I worked so hard to create for myself. It's like my entire life has been hijacked, and I have no way to take it back without becoming the bad guy in the eyes of my family. Update 3. Yesterday, everything finally reached a boiling point. After weeks of trying to drop hints, set boundaries, and express my frustration to a group of people who simply refused to listen, I couldn't take it anymore. My house, my sanctuary, the home I worked so hard to build for myself, had been overrun, disrespected, and turned into something unrecognizable. The noise, the mess, the complete lack of consideration for me or my space, it all came crashing down on me, and I broke. It happened during one of those all-too-familiar chaotic evenings. My cousin was yelling at his video game in the living room, my uncle was outside grilling, my sisters were blasting music upstairs, and my parents were casually sitting in the kitchen as if everything was perfectly normal. I stood there, looking around at the mess of plates, discarded bottles, shoes scattered across the floor, and the sheer disrespect radiating from every corner of what was supposed to be my home. Something inside me snapped. I gathered everyone into the living room. It wasn't easy, half of them were too busy with whatever nonsense they were doing to take me seriously, but eventually, they all shuffled in, confused about why I was calling for some kind of family meeting. My heart was racing, but I had made up my mind. This was it. I told them, very clearly and firmly, that they all had to leave. Not soon, not when it's convenient, but within 24 hours. I explained that I had reached my limit, that this was my house, and that their behavior had been completely unacceptable. At first, they laughed. They thought I was joking. My uncle smirked, my cousins exchanged looks, and my siblings rolled their eyes as if I was throwing some kind of tantrum. My parents just looked confused, as if they genuinely couldn't comprehend why I would ever do such a thing. I stood my ground and repeated myself. I didn't yell, but my voice was steady and unwavering. I told them that this was no longer up for discussion. Even then, most of them didn't take me seriously. They shrugged it off, assuming that I'd cool down and everything would go back to normal. But the next morning, when they woke up to me physically packing their belongings and setting them by the door, it finally hit them, I wasn't joking. The reactions were as varied as they were dramatic. My parents were shocked. They kept repeating, "How could you do this to us? We raised you," as if that somehow gave them the right to take over my life and my house. My sisters stormed out, swearing that they'd never speak to me again. My brother and uncle tried to argue with me, claiming that I had no right to kick them out because we're family. I didn't back down. I told them, plainly and without emotion, that this was my house, I paid for it, and no one had the right to stay here without my permission. It wasn't easy. There were tears, guilt trips, and even outright anger. My cousins sulked as they begrudgingly packed up their PlayStation and other belongings. My uncle was visibly annoyed as he dismantled the barbecue he'd set up in my yard without asking. My dad glared at me as he wheeled his motorcycle out of the garage. My mom cried, telling me I was being heartless and selfish. But I didn't care anymore. They had pushed me so far past my breaking point that I had no space left for guilt or second-guessing. This was my home, my life, and I was done letting them walk all over me. By midday, the house was empty. For the first time in weeks, there was silence. No loud music, no shouting, no laughter echoing from the living room. Just peace. I sat down in the middle of my living room, surrounded by the mess they'd left behind, and felt a wave of relief wash over me. It wasn't just the physical space I'd reclaimed, it was my sense of autonomy, my ability to make decisions about my own life. For the first time in what felt like forever, I felt like my home was mine again. Of course, the aftermath wasn't pretty. My parents, true to form, didn't let it go. They'd been texting me non-stop, accusing me of breaking up the family and calling me cold and heartless. They've been telling other relatives their version of events, painting me as some ungrateful, selfish villain who turned her back on her family. My sisters have been just as dramatic, unfriending me on social media and making passive-aggressive comments to mutual friends. Even my cousins chimed in, saying how uncool it was for me to kick them out. But you know what? I don't care. I changed the locks on my house the same day they left, just in case anyone got any ideas about showing up unannounced again. I also blocked several relatives on social media and muted my parents' texts. I've stopped reading their guilt-trippy messages because they no longer have any power over me. I've made my decision, and I stand by it. Yes, my methods were harsh. Yes, it probably came as a shock to them. But honestly, I tried everything else. I tried talking to them, setting boundaries, and asking them to respect my space, and none of it worked. They refused to listen, so I was left with no choice but to take drastic action. I don't regret it. They were disrespectful, entitled, and completely oblivious to how much they were hurting me. They treated my home like a free hotel, and they treated me like I was just another piece of furniture in it. I had to take back control, no matter how uncomfortable or confrontational it was. Now, I'm finally alone. My house is a mess, and I have a ton of cleaning and reorganizing to do, but I don't even care. The silence is blissful. The peace is priceless. For the first time in weeks, I can sit in my living room without hearing the constant sound of video games or shouting. I can go into my kitchen without finding dirty dishes piled up in the sink. I can use my bathroom without waiting in line. It's like I've gotten my life back, and I'm not going to let anyone take it away from me again. So, AITA? Honestly, I don't think so. I did what I had to do to protect my peace, my boundaries, and my home. If that makes me the bad guy in their eyes, so be it. At the end of the day, I know I made the right choice, and that's all that matters.